This is the 2024 update of the lovely Sheila, who has been using the suite of products from the I Am Melanin Magic brand since our debut almost 3 years ago. Her hair looks marvelous. Are you tired of struggling with hair growth and thinning strands? Release the magic in your locks and tresses with I Am Melanin Magic hair oils. A premium blend of all natural ingredients strengthens, restores, and revitalizes your hair for maximum health and growth. Don't let thinning hair
straightened hair
brand. Upgrade your hair care game today.
So are you.
I Am Melanin Magic hair oil. Hello, and welcome to the channel. Welcome to Tunisia's Locks, beauty tips and potpourri. I'm sending out lots of love to you all. I appreciate you. I adore you. If you happen to be new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're one of my OGs, so glad to have you back in the house again. Today we're talking about things that might really concern those of you who are a little bit newer to the journey, just the things that you need to be mindful of when you have these little locks, when you have micro locks, sister locks, some of the things that you're going to want to be aware of. And many of you who are OGs and veterans will already know what it is that I am talking about. Let's go ahead and dig in, okay? The first thing that you're going to want to be mindful of is making a decision about whether or not you want to use oil. Y'all hear me? I talk about this a lot on the channel. I'm not going to spend that much time on it today, but I will say this. If you used oil before you had your locks, the likelihood that you're going to need to use oil when you get your locks or throughout your lock journey, even if you're not doing it in the beginning, the likelihood is great that you're going to need to do that. I had super dry hair. I've always used oil or grease or something on my hair, some type of aid in order to supplement my hair's health and keep it healthy and give it what it needs to thrive. And so I'm a proponent of using oil on your hair, but a lot of people may not. Typically though, if you have micro locks, you're gonna have people who are going to feel and are going to tell you and are going to feel like, you know, you should use oil on your hair. But if you happen to have sister locks, you may be told not to. So it'll be a decision that you yourself are going to have to make. And it may put you at odds with your loctician. So you may need to discuss it with that person. And depending upon where you are in your journey, you're also going to want to consider that, you know. I was fortunate enough to have a loctician who used oil on my hair the day of the install. And so I've been in that camp forever. I've never been sorry. I don't think my hair could have withstood all of the stress that I put it through and still be fairly healthy, with the exception of some of the trauma from the coloring. So I'm a proponent of oil. Let's go ahead and get to the next thing that we want to talk about. And that is how often you decide to do your retightenings, okay? Or your relockings or your re-whatevers. Your loctician may put you on a schedule that you feel is absolutely necessary for you to be on. And at some point you may have to decide whether or not that schedule is working for you. Is it working to keep your hair healthy? Is it creating a strain on your hair? Is it stressing you out? Typically, throughout my entire journey, my retightenings were between 8 and 10 weeks in the beginning, probably like the first couple of 3 years. And then after that, I transitioned to between, most of the time, 10 and 11 weeks. Sometimes I went maybe a few days beyond that, ever so often. But typically, my hair thrived, and that was my schedule. I never had a problem with that schedule. It is a schedule that definitely worked for me. It was my contention that anything less than that for a long period of time, y'all see all the gray is coming in. That's something I need to find a remedy to. That's something that always worked for me, and I never really could get behind doing anything less than that. I felt it was my feeling that getting my hair done any more frequently than that was going to create problems for my hair, and I've seen that happen. Mostly it happens because of the quality of the retightening, which is the third thing I'm going to talk to you about. The quality of the retightenings that you get is going to be one of the top factors that you're going to come face to face with at some point in your journey. You're going to have to make a decision about, is the quality of the retightening that you're getting going to aid you, or is it going to be something that's going to create problems for you? I talk about this a lot because up until some years ago, when I really began hammering this point home, it wasn't something that a lot of people were talking about on a regular basis. And it was something that is really so important. The essence of your hair care journey, other than the things that you may be doing to your detriment in between getting your hair done by your loctician, is going to be the quality of that retightening. Now, the quality relates to a lot of different factors, which I mentioned in my ebook. The ebook is currently being revamped because I need to add a section about knotted locks on the ebook. That is what is delaying that. But in the ebook, I speak about over 20 things that are really critical in the conversations that you have with your loctician, the energy of your loctician's ability to respond to feedback, things that relate directly to the mechanics of the retightening, like the number of rotations, the tension, and so many other things. The quality of your retightening is just as important, and literally it can supersede the importance of how often you're doing your retightenings. Let's say, for example, you're getting your retightenings from a loctician who's really invested in your overall hair health, right? And this is someone who's very soft on your hair. This is someone that allots enough time in between your appointment and her follow-up appointment. It's someone who's gentle as she moves through your head and detangles. You don't hear strands popping. You're not feeling friction and other things that can be warning signs. If you have a loctician like that, or if you happen to be doing your own retightenings and you are someone who is very gentle on your own hair, because just because you may be doing your own retightening doesn't mean that you're getting a good retightening, because we can get on our own heads and do the same kind of things that we're trying to avoid when we have someone else to do our hair. You can be too rough, you can tighten too tight, you can do it too often. So those sorts of things are really important, okay? The other thing that I want to talk about is the way that you maintain your hair in between the maintenance that is required. The things that we do every day that we don't think about. Let me give you an example. My hair is very long, right? So when I put on my shirt, it always is going to get caught. And one of the things I used to do is I used to be real haphazard, and I would just pull it up, not yank it up, but I wasn't being particularly careful either. You have to handle your hair very carefully, and that's something that I'm being very particular about now, especially with all the dye that I've put in my hair and the ends and so forth. I'm actually now sleeping with a satin pillowcase. Oh, can you imagine that? But watching how you manipulate your hair when you do have your hands on it, whether that be washing your hair, whether that be styling your hair, whether it be having to detangle your hair and pull certain strands apart or separate your hair for some reason. It is so important to treat your hair like you would a child's head that you were doing that was new to the world, a kid under 1. You're doing their hair and you're very tender. Then as they start to get older, maybe you start jerking on their hair, or maybe you start not being as tender or not being as concerned. Dealing with the locks in the long run and being very tender when you do have to manipulate your locks, it's going to go a long way. That's when you're getting dressed. That's when you put on your coat and your hair is down here and you need to lift it up before you put your coat on, or that's when you are, braiding and banding your hair and you put the rubber band at the bottom and it's time to take it out instead of just, pulling it unnecessarily which causes the hair to tear. You allow yourself to unravel it very gently as you remove the rubber band. Whatever it is that you're doing to your hair, from washing it and styling it to putting it up on the pillow like this at night before you lay down. I am a back sleeper, and so each night I have to pull my hair up like this and spread it out across the pillow. I can't do it any other way because it's so long. But that's not something that is just necessary for me. Even when your locks are shorter, you still have to make sure that when you're lying down, you're not pulling. Your edges are not pulling. The back is not pulling. Strands are not tangled. You know, you've got to pay attention to how you're sleeping at night. If you happen to sometimes sleep on your side, you got to use your hands. Okay? You need to do anything that's going to minimize the friction or the rubbing of your strands or your edges or your hair to a point to where it can actually tear. These things are super, super, super important. And these are the kinds of things that we just don't think about that on a day-to-day basis. It's not something that we're always conscious of, especially once you get further in the journey. You'll find that maybe sometimes you start to get a little careless. You start to take chances. You start to get a little careless. On to my last point about the benefits and the beauty of color. Nobody loves color more than me, but you got to know what the limits of your hair are. Some people's hair takes color better than other people's hair. Some people can take a minimum amount of color or intermittent coloring sessions. Some people can color consistently over a period of time and their hair always thrive. I am someone that has colored my hair for over a decade. Yeah. And I paid the price for it, but I continue to do it because I love the color. And so more currently, I am investigating other ways to color my hair, or I'm investigating, different methods and different things that I can do that will allow me to experience some of the freshness and some of the beauty that the color can bring in without the side effects. The color itself never affects my actual new growth and the better brunt of the first, let's say, 2/3 of my hair. Where the color takes its beating for me is on the ends of my hair. And that happens for a lot of people. And because I tend to keep my ends open, I've always kept my ends open. I started doing that from the very beginning of my journey. You see how this, it's elastic. I started doing that at the very beginning of my journey, and it just has always been that way. And so I continue to do that always. And so that's something that I've just kind of gotten used to. Does my hair like that? Not necessarily. Does that also contribute, I think, to the weakness of my ends? More than likely. So my point here is that if you're going to be using color on your hair, think back to what the color did to your hair prior to you getting the locks and know that you're going to suffer from some of that same thing. If you're someone that does your hair on your own and you use over-the-counter products, determine which of those products work better on your hair. Now, I was dyeing my hair all the time before I got my locks. I don't think I had dyed it within a 2 or 3 year period before my locks, but for many decades, I would color my hair. And I would use Dark and Lovely, I would use Soft and Beautiful, I would use Revlon, I would use L'Oreal. Those were very drying and hard on my hair. When I came upon Vidal Sassoon, I noticed a difference. There was a very observable difference in terms of how my hair felt. So I was comfortable using that on my hair more often when I was going through this journey, when I decided to transition to the locks. The issue, though, is like any bright color, you don't get the staying power that you always want. Typically, it starts to bleed out after the first couple of washes, so you don't have that bright intensity. So then I find myself using Adore products, and then the last 2 times I dyed with Splat. And I was supposed to give Splat a little more time on my hair so that I could observe the impact that it had on my hair. Splat gives me the most intense color, the most beautiful color. But splat is very difficult to rinse out. And whenever you have color in your hair and you don't rinse it out adequately, especially when you have locks, you're going to experience some extra drying and potentially some breakage. So even though you might be using a semi-permanent type of chemical, or it's still a chemical, still, even though you may be using a semi-permanent type of chemical on your hair, you still gotta watch out for some of those pitfalls. And it's really better for each person to do a strand test and to take a section of your hair and color just that section, and then to wait a few months and see how your hair responds before you go in. If you're someone that's patient and someone who has the wherewithal to do that, do that. If you decide to go and get color from a professional, do that as well. Make sure that whoever's coloring your hair really knows how to color and deal with locks, because when you color locks, there are some different things that you have to do. Do know that your hair is likely going to take some sort of a beating, irregardless of who does it. Especially as you begin to do it over a period of time, you're going to experience a little bit of dryness. You may experience your ends starting to unravel, or you may experience your ends starting to break. If you're someone that decides to color before you actually get your locks, know that you probably want to space it out a little bit and give yourself a little bit of time, because the hair will still go through something once it's locked. Doesn't matter. Once you color it, it's still going to go through something. So at the end of the day, give your hair time to adjust. Observe what's going on with your hair. Be willing to do a strand test or a section test. And then if all else fails, wait in between the time that you get the color and the time that you go in a subsequent time, and make sure that you give your hair a chance to recover. Now, the next thing I'm probably going to do is to try some henna. I had henna in my hair some years ago, many years ago. Had a few horror stories. Those of you who've been with the channel probably heard me talk about it a few times, but I am going to test a section of my hair after a certain waiting period, transpires. I am going to go in and I am going to test a section of my hair with the henna, and I'm going to see how we do. So those are some of the tips that I have for you. Let me know what some of your concerns are. If you have ideas or things you want me to talk about throughout my 15-year lock journey, if there are things you want to know, make sure that you place that in the comments. Let me know if you're new. Let me know how long you've had your locks. Let me know where you are in the journey. If there are particular tips and things you want to share in the comment section. If you're interested in the Righteous Hair course, you can sign up for that. You can also sign up for Discord. Discord is great. The desire is to build a community where you can share your videos, where you can share your triumphs, where you can share your challenges, where you can connect with other people that are on their natural hair journey, whether they're doing traditional locks, micro locks, or any other type of lock. I love you. I love you. I love you. If you have not purchased my book, Manifesting Your Masterpiece, you can get that on Amazon. I'll talk to you again soon. Keep coming back, because more will certainly be revealed. Bye. Welcome to Tunisia's Locks, Beauty Tips, and Potpourri, the channel where we get it all in. You can also learn more about the I Am Melanin Magic brand. Thank you for stopping by. Our magical hair growth serum did this after just 8 short weeks, 5 times per week. Denisha began with the premium oil blend in April, and by June, she had already regrown hair. Angelica addressed thinning with the magical hair growth serum and continues to use the products to improve thinning in areas where it's been hard to regrow hair. Meet Kina. Her hair loss was spread over several areas. She went ham with the magical hair growth serum, and to the shock of her loctician, her hair began to rebound fast. She is delighted, and so am I. I am Melanin Magic, and so are you.